This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome back to Live Talk with Dr. B. We are hooraying today because Dr. B is back. So, yes, if we have any visitors today, we just ask that you use the chat room if you have any questions that we would love to answer. So, today, hopefully, we're going to get those stories. So, Dr. B, how are you
Yes,
feeling?
I am feeling much better. I sure missed everybody, but thank you all for your kind prayers and good wishes. They really came in wonderful. We have Josh here now, and we have let's see, waiting for a name. We have Josh, and we have Dr. Smith, and we have Travis. And so I think that we've got a pretty good full house. I hope Samantha shows up. There she is. There she is.
I'm here.
Samantha's got a wonderful or a heartbreaking or whatever you want to call it story that she's going to tell us about her and herself. And I think it's something that everybody really needs to listen to and embrace her for this. You ready, baby?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, go for it, hon.
So my I don't really even know where to start. When I first started taking opioids, I was probably 14 or 15. I got burnt real bad, and it was a grease burn. My family owned a convenience store that I helped with, and my dad had had surgery, so my mom was helping him. He just got out of the hospital and come home. So he had just he was out there and I had an order. So I went to get the order ready and a one of those little fry daddies came over on me, tipped over on me. So that was the first time I'd ever gotten sick, been in the hospital, been really even been to the emergency room. That was the first thing that had ever happened to me. So I had to stay in the hospital for 2 days, and they sent me home with some pain medication. Done fine with it. I mean, I think I might have took a couple of them, but never really. I mean, I just, I was 14 or 15 years old, so I guess I had the willpower in me then. Just it didn't really bother me. Well, about 3 years later, I had a car wreck, and it totaled my vehicle out. So, and it messed up my left shoulder, and I had to have shoulder surgery. Leading up to the surgery was probably about 6 months. So the first time I ever went to the doctor about it, well, I went to the emergency room, of course, the night that I had the car wreck, and they sent me home with Oxycontin. That was just the night that I had the surgery. And I mean, the night that I had the wreck. And then, so going to the doctor up until the physical therapy, or up until the surgery and the therapy, he continued to give me what they had gave me at the emergency room. So I was still taking Oxycontin. When I had the shoulder surgery, um they bumped me up to morphine and was giving me morphine. And from there, it's my life spiraled. I mean, just spiraled. And I was 18 years old. So I just kind of went downhill and just, I mean, I went from bad to worse. I would quit taking some for a while, and I would be so sick and so miserable that I just could not imagine living life. And I've lost a lot of people. I had a brother when I was 13 years old. My brother committed suicide, and I lost him when all that happened. When I did have the surgery and was in the hospital, I lost a grandparent while I was there. I during the course of me spiraling downhill and going out of control, I would leave my family and just go off, because I didn't want them to see me sick. I didn't want them to see the kind of stuff I would do. And of course, I would lie, cheat, and steal from them just to get money to go buy my pills on the street. Because at that time, after the doctors gave me morphine, there wasn't anything else they would give me, so they wouldn't give me what I wanted. I mean, they just wouldn't give me anything hardly. So I would start buying mine off the streets, and of course led into buying other stuff. So I got arrested, I don't know how many times. I went to jail for just stupid stuff. Finally ended up going to prison. And the way that I ended up in prison was a life-saving measure itself. I was with a group of people, and I got in my car and left because I thought they were after me. And I ended up in my area. It's called the Natchez Trace. I'm sure some people have heard of it, but it's a little road, like a scenic route that goes from Nashville, Tennessee, all the way down to Natchez, Mississippi. And I was going down the trace because I thought these people were after me, and I had stopped at this little pull off area and got out and took off running because they were after me. Well, at some point in this little trail, I sat down and passed out. I guess I just went to sleep. And a park ranger found me. And at that point, when he found me, I don't know if I would have lived or died from that point. I mean, I can't imagine. I don't know if I don't know. I really think I probably would have died. I probably would have died because I don't know how long I'd been out there. I don't know if anybody was looking for me, or anything. And he found me and looked me in the face and said, "Honey, you need to get some help." And I said, "Well, I mean, where I'm gonna go," because I knew I had a warrant in my county and the county over from me too. So I knew I had warrants. So I knew I was gonna go to jail. And so I told him that, I didn't want to go to rehab, but where I was gonna go, I thought that was gonna be rehab enough. And he said, "Well, the way you look and just what you've told me tonight, you need to do something." And that was kind of my point of wanting to do something, because he was the only person that had ever said, "Hey, you need to do something with your life instead of letting you go this just spiral out of control and do nothing. There is people that care about you and you can make something of yourself." Nobody had ever told me that. And he was a complete stranger. So for him to have cared enough to just say, "Please do this," it just made me want to do it. So I went to jail that night, went to prison 2 weeks later, and here we are. After I got out, I wanted to do something with my life, and I feel like now is finally the chance of me getting to do it and doing the right thing with it.
That's something, and really thank you so much for sharing that, because, when we know what you've been through, it helps us to understand and helps everybody else to understand where you're coming from and what you're doing and how you're picked yourself up. And we're so proud of you.
Yeah,
We're so proud of you. You have no
thank
idea how
you.
proud of you we are. I mean, you've come a
Thank
long way, just like Josh has and just like Travis has. You all have come such a long way. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit sick here still, along with my surgery.
you. Yeah,
But anyway, I'm just very, very proud of you. And
thank you, Dr. P.
anybody got something to say to Sam?
Wow.
No, Sam, I just want to say that I'm proud of
Yeah.
you as well. Like,
Yeah.
I heard this story before and it touched me, and I'm glad you told it to everybody else, because
Yeah.
it's it's definitely a testimony of where you've been and where you are today.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, there's
I
probably
think we
things I
just
left
heard the
out
beginning
that,
of the story. I think we just heard the beginning of the story. I don't think the end of the story is
mm,
written yet.
Oh, you're right.
absolutely.
You're right.
And, there's, like I said, there's parts that's been left out. There's a lot of little details that gives me other reasons too, but that was the main, that's just been my main focus for, if a complete stranger can just look at me and know that there's something more in me, then I should be able to too.
So that was just like Travis. Travis thought nobody knew, and he was the last person to know. You
Right.
know what I mean?
yeah,
I think we're
And
all like
he's,
that to a certain point. We
yeah,
think nobody knows. We just think nobody knows.
that's
And
right.
then
Yeah.
now when I think back on it, I think, how crazy were you to get out and start running in the middle of the woods like nobody knew? You know?
Yeah,
Mm.
Yeah.
So
But we see you sitting here, and you look so put together. You look like you've got the world by its tail, and you're doing
I
just
feel like I
wonderful.
somewhat do now.
But
I
nobody
mean, I feel like
knows
I'm
until
finally
now.
in a place that I feel like I'm meant to be in. I mean,
Yeah.
once I found that, then I feel like that just kind of put it all together for me.
It's
Now, you guys know the question I'm going to ask because I told you yesterday I was going to ask this question. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and ask it. Okay, Sam, go back to that moment, the first time you felt the sickness. How old were you? How well do you remember it? What were the circumstances?
Oh, wow. The first time I felt the sickness, I was 19 years old. I mean, I can tell you the exact moment where I was at, and I did not want to live. And I mean, I'm not suicidal, and I can tell anybody that I've never had a suicidal thought in my brain because I had my brother that done that. But when you get to that point that you just feel like you're not going to be able to pick your leg up and move, then, I mean, there was a point when you're laying in the bed and you know that you've got to have a pill to get out of the bed and move, then, I mean, you're sick.
How
You're
did you
sick.
know the pill would help?
Well, I mean, no, Theraflu or nothing else did. I'd already been to the doctor for the flu. I mean, I thought I had the flu. Like I said, it was the first time I'd ever felt any sickness like that and didn't really know.
Where
But
did you get the
I
pill?
was
Where did
I
you
was
get the pill?
I went to got them off the street because the doctor wouldn't give them to me no more.
As
At
soon as you
that
bought it,
point, I'm sorry.
as soon as you bought it, did you take it?
Of course,
How did you take it?
Sure.
my mouth
Try and chew that sucker up.
yeah,
chewed
chew
it
it up.
up as soon as it could get down in my throat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long
You
before
either
you
chew it up or you snort it, and most people can't snort it because it burns too bad. So most people
hmm
chew it up.
Yeah.
how long before you started feeling better?
I would say probably
Right.
30 minutes, 30, 45 minutes.
20 minutes,
So,
30
so you
minutes.
you
Yeah.
you know you already know the questions that I'm going to be throwing at you.
hmm
And let me start with two. Let me start with two. Why do you think you remember that so well? And looking back, was that a turning point in your life? And if so, how?
I think I
And by the way,
remember it
guys,
so
hey, by the way,
well
guys,
because,
you're up next, so pay attention to the answers, okay?
Okay.
okay, what do you say you broke up
Oh,
on that
sorry.
last part?
Okay, well, we're gonna ask the same questions of Travis and Josh. Okay,
Oh,
um, it basically comes down to were you surprised and did this
mhm.
change your life?
um, I think I remember it so well because it was so traumatizing to me, and because I was so shocked that when I went to the doctor and said, "Look, I don't have the flu. I think I'm sick because I don't have pills, because I don't have my pills." And he was like, "That is nonsense." And I
Wow.
was like, I feel like it's not nonsense because that's the only thing it can be. I mean,
Right.
I don't have that. And the reason for me not being able to have it because he was still giving me my medication. I had just ran out and it was going to be a couple of days before I could get it back. My refill was in between times. And he was like, "I'll go ahead and write it if you can get it filled." Well, you write me that prescription, I'm going to get it filled somewhere. But it came down to me being so shocked that that would happen because I was told that it wouldn't happen. That there was just absolutely no way I would get addicted to those pills. It was not going to harm me in any way. It was just going to help my shoulder. So the turning point for me would be when he told me that. He told me he could go ahead and write me the script. And I was thinking in my mind, if he writes me that script, I can get it filled somewhere. And I did. That was my turning point because that was the moment that I started lying, cheating, and stealing. Because then I just thought, well, I just won't take it to this pharmacy that filled through my insurance. I'll go to another one and pay cash.
Wow.
Yep.
That was the moment that I started lying, cheating, and stealing. So that was my turning point.
This
And
was before.
for our
I think
listeners, finish the sentence. That's the moment I started lying, cheating, and stealing. Why?
That's the moment I started lying, cheating, and stealing. What?
Why?
why.
Why start?
Why?
Why?
So we get
For
sick.
the opioids.
In order to not be sick?
And in order to not be sick, yeah. Because I knew I wouldn't be able to wait those other couple of days if I thought I was dying.
Now, guys, let me tell you what's happening here. Let me tell you what's happening here, because this doesn't happen very often. As a group, we are normally very cohesive. As a group, we can move from subject to subject and have and share a knowledge and an understanding. What's happening here, and you guys may not realize this, so let me just walk through this. Something is happening here, okay? And this is extremely important. You three can look at each other and understand what Sam means when she says, "I remember that moment," or when Josh says, "I remember exactly that moment," or when Travis says, "I remember exactly that moment." B and I don't follow that. I don't understand that.
I
You guys
know.
nod as if, I was talking to somebody, the first time I went to a Rolling Stones concert. Oh yeah, they're great. Because there's that shared knowledge. I'm not making trivia. I'm not making of the thing, but there is a shared knowledge there.
Mm-hmm.
And when you guys have that moment of shared knowledge, those of us that never experienced that and don't share that knowledge, you guys may not realize it, but we're lost. We don't understand it.
Yeah.
Right.
It
I
and it
understand.
didn't. I tend to not think about that because it's just kind of like y'all are part of it. Y'all are part of us, so it's like I forget.
But we're doing this for the world. And
Right.
I think and we're doing this to help. I mean, we're doing this to help people who have shared your experience. And
Right.
and
Right.
I think what we're moving in on here, at least I feel like we're approaching something important here, and that is you guys have a concept of a shared event, but the outside world doesn't understand that, and I can guarantee you this. It is that moment where this false diagnosis of opioid addiction got applied. That's
Yes.
the moment. They didn't understand the change in your behavior. They
Yeah.
didn't understand the change in your behavior. They saw the change in your behavior, but they didn't understand it. And really
Right.
what we're talking about here, we're kind of the first group that's ever really brought this out. This is incredibly important.
People
This
have been trying to tell people for years why they're addicted to opioids, why they're doing what they're doing off opioids, but no one seems to listen.
all
I
right,
have watched
what do you mean?
so many videos, even the videos I sent to you, Dr. Smith, that you said wouldn't play.
Wouldn't play.
They're there telling the audience, they're telling the people why they're using, why they continue to use, and every time the same answer is because I don't want to be sick, but no one's listening to them. I'm
All right.
talking about I have videos from 20 years ago they've been saying this, and people
You're
are like,
saying
"Well, I don't care what you're scared of. That
you're
doesn't give
saying
you a reason to da, 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 da."
problem.
You have a choice. But people are trying to tell people when it comes to opioid people that are on opioids, they have been trying to tell people what's going on for years. No one is listening.
No one
No
wants
So
one.
to
you're
listen.
And
communication
our
problem.
science, our science is going to make them listen.
So
And
you're
and
saying
that's my whole point behind this Smith test and
Right.
behind the DNA test and what we're doing. Like people have been trying to tell people, but no one's listening. No
Well,
one's
it
no
has
one's
to come,
listening to what
it
they're
has to
saying.
come It has to come from people like you. It can't come from me, and it can't come from Doug.
Yeah,
It has to.
these
That's
were
not what
other
he said.
addicts that were trying to
hang
tell
on,
the world, what
hang
was
on,
going
guys.
on, but no one wants to hear it. Even
Hang
Dr.
on,
Phil,
guys.
he ain't listening.
Hang
Like
on, guys.
one of them was Dr. Phil. He's not listening to these people what they're saying.
Right.
Like they like the one video that I sent Dr. Smith, the lady was like, "Sir, I'm doing this because I'm scared of being sick. You don't understand. The sickness is something I'm not willing to go through. It'll scare you. You'll do whatever it
Right.
takes not to be sick." And Dr. Phil's like, "I don't
Absolutely.
want to hear that baloney. You have a choice." Da 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 da. Da. Like people just aren't listening. They're not.
He ain't
You know what I
even
mean?
Dr.
Like
Oh,
It's
that's just
really bad. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, the science is there. And when people say, I did it because I didn't want to be sick, just like some of our patients have said, what do you want out of the class action lawsuit? I really want those people to go ahead and take their own medicine and see what it's like. So they're the people that understand what y'all are going through, what everybody's
right.
going through. They're the people that make the difference. You all are people that want to have the pharmaceutical company take their own medicine and be
Yeah.
sick so that
All
they
right. So
understand.
I hate
Travis,
to put them through it, though, Dr.
okay.
B.
Yeah.
what you say, Dr. Smith?
Let me throw this at you. Okay. I think you hit the nail right on the head, and I don't want to miss the moment of what you just said. I think you
Okay.
nailed it. Okay. I think you nailed it. Okay. And for me, I had a little bit of an aha moment. Let me tell you what I heard you say. You tell me if I'm beginning to hear correctly. What I just heard you say was that there's no problem with you guys. You guys have been saying it the right way for years and years and years. The problem is on our side. We haven't
Yep.
been listening.
Correct.
Exactly.
Okay.
Correct.
Exactly.
The
I was
reason
doing
we
Okay.
some
haven't
research.
listened is because we have gone ahead and we
Okay.
have given them the title of drug addicts, and they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're saying. How can you listen to somebody who has a mental defect? And that's
They have a
exactly what's
choice.
going on.
They're doing this because they know what they're doing. They have a choice. They can either not take the opioid or take the opioid. They're doing this all under their own consciousness. They're doing this all under their own choice. This is their choice. Like, and that's all you keep hearing. And I was doing some research, and I literally watched like all these old talk shows that were only talking about opioid use or drug use, and the ones that I found were talking about opioid. I went as far back to like Jenny Jones from back in the 90s,
Wow.
and they were telling Jenny Jones that,
Yeah.
listen, I'm on this medicine, but I can't stop because I get sick. Even she didn't want to hear it. Like, I mean, she was like, "Oh, you have a choice. You're a drug addict. You're doing this because you want to do it." And they were like, the same thing every time. They're telling these people from Steve Wilkos to you name it, like to Jesse Raphael. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know if you remember that. I went as far
Righto.
back as that.
I
Jesse
remember it.
Raphael. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
like
Yeah, I
your
so
do.
class.
so I went as far back as that to look into all of these from different programs where they talk to opioid users, and all of them
Mhm.
were trying to tell them, "Listen, I'm scared of the sickness. I don't want to be sick." And I'm
Crazy.
I'm serious. This is 20 something years ago. Some of these. Jenny
I'm
Yeah.
Jones
sure.
was like 22
Travis,
years ago, 23 years
let
Yeah.
ago.
me throw this at
And
you.
I mean, they're literally telling these people, "Listen, I don't want to be sick," and nobody's even hearing it. It's like crickets in the background. No one's
Travis,
Yeah.
listening to a thing. They
Travis,
they
let me
don't
throw
care.
Well,
this at
I know every time I've said anything about I don't want to be sick, they're just like, oh, whatever, and it's like that's what I've been so used to hearing all my life that, that's just what you get used to. You get to hearing the same little lecture in your ear. So
Because the system
the
has
same thing
made
for everybody.
everybody believe that we are drug addicts, that
Hmm.
mentally something's wrong with us, and that
Exactly.
we are doing this to ourselves. And that's not the case. They've put out
And
a
that's not
faulty,
true.
bad product that's poisoning our DNA, and it's completely changing us. And so that's the problem right there. That no one's, you know,
But they think
Right.
you're lying. They think you want to get high.
Yeah.
You don't want to
Yeah,
get
see,
high. You want to get by.
yeah,
Right.
you want to get by. That's actually
And
that
that's
could be a
it. You just
t-shirt.
want to
I
live.
wasn't trying to get high. I was trying to get by. Like that's
Right.
a
Yeah.
t-shirt right there. Like that's
Yeah.
literally how it is. You're trying to get by day to day, just not being sick, and you're just
Mhm.
trying to
Right.
make it. Like you're just trying to be normal for that day. Like that's it.
Hey,
That's
Yeah,
Travis.
but
right.
see, they haven't never played on the playground, so they don't know. So if
And
they
see, the
don't
No.
same
know,
thing that you said and the same thing Samantha said, all these people said. They said the same thing that all three of us have said. After you take it for a couple of months, you no longer get high. If you know it,
Right.
and you know this is true. After you take it for a while, you don't get high anymore. You're literally
no,
just trying to keep yourself
Just
well
trying to
and
survive.
not trying to be sick so you can feel
yeah,
normal. Because all the opioids do for you after you've been immune to it, I call it getting immune to it, where your body's
Yeah.
just normalized to it and
yeah,
literally all it's doing is making you normal. It's like your morning cup of coffee every morning. You have to have it so you can start your day off right and actually be yourself. Like it's literally like that. If you don't have your opioids, you're going to be sick. You're not going to be able to get out of bed. You're
Mhm.
not going to be able to work. You're not going to be able to do anything.
I told
And
you,
that doesn't
Travis, that
sound
one
like a
night.
choice to me. That doesn't
Absolutely.
sound like a choice. You don't have a choice. You either take the medicine or you're going to be
Or
sick
you're sick.
all day
right.
long and
Yes.
it's never going to end.
It's
That's
not
not
a
a
choice.
choice.
No, no,
No.
you're
Not
in
at
the
all a
death
choice.
spiral.
You would think that when they look at someone who is on Suboxone or buprenorphine and they can see them functioning well, that there has
Mhm.
to be something to it.
Exactly.
But
Correct.
no.
But that goes back to the responsibility to the taking what do you call it? Taking responsibility, taking ownership of what they've done.
Mhm.
They're not going to right their wrong unless they're forced to do so, and that's where we come into place. Like we are it. Like we're the last stand. Like it's up to us to make them
Right.
take responsibility for what they've done because this
Sure.
is a big whoops. So they can't just come in and say, "Oh, guys, we're so sorry. We killed all these people with this faulty product. We poisoned all these people's DNA. We're sorry." It's not
Try
Right.
gonna
not to do
it's
it
not
again.
like they can come out and do that.
That
Yeah.
doesn't
Right.
carry much water, does it?
yeah, they're not going to
No.
be able to
It
do that.
carry much.
Absolutely not.
There's too much
No.
at stake. They're not gonna be able to admit fault like that as big as of a business as they are because they know what's going
Sure.
to happen next. They'll be
Right.
sued. They'll be sued by everybody in the world. I mean, so
By us.
it, when it comes to a business decision, whether or not morally it's wrong, they're not going to do the right thing because they know there's something bigger at stake, and that's their company.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
they're not going to jeopardize that by any means
Yep.
to right a wrong that they did to all these people. And that's just how I feel. So it's up to us to make them right that wrong. But people have been trying to tell them for years, and no one's listening. I mean,
No.
just no one wants to hear it.
Hey, Travis, before we close, you there?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Can I throw this at you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And again, um, I want to tell you what I heard, and you tell me if I heard right.
Okay.
Okay. If I had to encapsulate what you just said was it's not us that need to change, it's them. In other words,
Yes.
they were telling you that you needed to change. You needed to change. You had a choice. You could stop doing the opioids. You
Yep.
need to change the choices you are making. And what I hear you saying is, no, we're not the one. If we're going to move the ball forward, we're not the ones that need to change. You need to change and listen to what we're saying.
I
Am I
agree.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Because
okay?
and here's another valid point, the same thing you're saying. If I wanted to get high every day and never wanted to stop and it was all about getting high, why the second I found out that I could take a different medicine,
Yeah.
not be sick and still not have to take opioids, I switched instantaneously.
Yeah.
I knew she assured
Right.
me, Dr. B assured me I would not be sick and I'd be able to function and go to work. And whenever she told me that, I switched that day instantly. I said, I won't be sick, Are you serious? I'll be able to work. I'll be able to take care of my family, and I won't be sick, and I won't be laying in the bed, and I won't have to deal with that. And she said, no, I promise, baby, you won't. And as soon as I found out that I wasn't going to be sick and I could get off the opioids and take something else to make me feel normal and keep me off the opioids, I switched instantly. If she
And
wouldn't have
here
been able
all
to
of you
tell me
are.
for 100% that I wouldn't have been able to not be sick, I don't think I would have switched. And a lot of us are like that. I'm sure Samantha and Josh made that same
Yeah.
Absolutely.
decision when they realized that they weren't going to be sick and they could take Suboxone or they could take buprenorphine. They probably
Yep.
switched very quick when they realized, hey, I can take these medicines and not
Yep.
be sick, but still not have to take these, not be a
Yes.
slave to these opioids every day. So that's what happened to me as well when it comes to Suboxone and buprenorphine. When I found out that I could substitute the opioids for this, not get sick, and still be clean and live a normal life, I was all in. I
Yep.
was all in. Now
I
I
put
did have
the
to
whole
hit
bottle down
rock
those.
bottom in my life, I feel like, before I came to that conclusion, but a lot of that was denial as well. So I was having a hard time admitting it to myself that I had an issue.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
once I got past that, everything else was fine.
Hi, Chrissy.
Oh, she's here to kick us off, guys.
Quick. It does. Just so fascinating. I mean, gosh, you guys are so informative. I
We
love
needed
these
an hour on
discussions.
that one.
I know. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, live with Dr. B, every Monday through Thursday, 12:30 to 1. So y'all have a blessed day. Thank you for joining us.
And we have
Thanks,
to say
guys.
once again, all of you, we're very, very proud of each and every one of you. You've come
Yes,
from a
thank you.
long way, baby.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. B.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye-bye, everybody.